Welcome to the Dynasty Market Watch, where yesterday's price is not today's price. We're going to try a little new episode style here. It's going to be called Trades I Made and Liked. And Matt just got a trade offer as we were about to hit record. So, Matt, hit us. What did you just get, and who did you get it from? Let's just put this person on blast. I hope it's just a rip sesh offer.
So this is from Stoned Sport Dude, if anybody is familiar with him. Let me take a look at the standings here to see where these picks are lining up. So it's basically a mid to late first and second. And I'm getting a mid to late first and second, and I would be giving him Xavier Worthy, Luke McCaffrey, and a mid to late third. So Xavier Worthy in 2/3, basically.
Wait a second. Wait, you would be giving up Worthy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because this is the league where you're not allowed to trade your first because you made some sort of bet on it with somebody, if I remember correctly.
That's the cream. That's the cream league.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
you're trading away Worthy. You're getting a first and a second, but you're also giving up Luke McCaffrey. And I saw today that PFF came out with their week 2 separation report. And so through 2 weeks, Luke McCaffrey has had 8 opportunities. 7 of those opportunities have had separation. And he's top 5. He's number 4 in of all wide receivers in separation. His sample is quite small. Chris Olave. Wait, that was the week 2 report.
I was going to say.
Let's try that again. Hold up. I'll edit that out.
Okay. I was going to say. Go ahead.
Speaking of Luke McCaffrey, I saw today where PFF came out with their separation report, and through 2 weeks, Luke McCaffrey is 3rd in the NFL in separation. This is based on PFF. He has 16 opportunities, 13 snaps with separation. The only 2 guys ahead of him are Chris Olave, number 1, and then Matt's boy, Dontavian Wicks, number 2. Also, the Commanders' staff seems to be pretty high on McCaffrey. He might be a low-key, little buy. I think I would try to take out McCaffrey and that 3rd and see if you do that. So Worthy for the first and second.
So you listed the top 3. Do you have the list in front of you, to give us 4 and 5, a little?
Yeah, I'm gonna blow your mind with number 4. So maybe this isn't very reliable, but it's Gabe Davis, number 4.
Oh boy. Okay.
I think honestly, the better way to look at this is probably first off, let's get a bigger sample size. Second, don't be really bad is probably let's hit above a 40-50%. I'm not sure that it's a linear type thing of more is better. But at the same time, Jamar Chase is the second worst. So
okay,
that's not great. That's not great at all.
Back to the trade.
And speaking of Jamar Chase, you made a trade, Brian, for Jamar Chase recently, right?
Yes, I did.
Or you traded him away?
Before I did trade him away. Before I get into what that trade is, Matt, what is your initial reaction to that offer you just received? Is it an auto decline? Are you instant countering? Is it something that you're going to sit on for a little while?
I might accept it.
I think it's a pretty good offer.
Yeah, it's a good offer.
So this is after a couple counters. So I don't think I can. I don't even think I could get Luke McCaffrey removed from this trade. He seems to want him, and so here's why I'm leaning towards accepting it. The first that I'm getting, the guy is already 0-2, and he has Pacheco and Debo, who's been in his lineup. His only 2 quarterbacks are Brock Purdy and Matt Stafford. He does not have a 3rd starting quarterback. Stafford just lost Puka and Kupp, obviously. His wide receiver 2 is Christian Watson. His wide receiver 3 is Khalil Shakir. He only has Travis Kelce as a tight end. He has Isaiah Likely and Hunter Henry on the bench, but this could be an early first. It could be a top 5 pick next year. So,
all right. Just counterpoint here. I don't even know what Luke McCaffrey's really done to this point. But
he got no targets in week 2, so
he got what?
He got 0 targets in week 2 after getting 3 targets in week 1.
All right, yeah, then never mind. I was thinking I hadn't really checked anything on Luke McCaffrey since week 1. So yeah, I'd be fine with that. My thought was, okay, does Luke McCaffrey have like a 5 for 50 game, and then all of a sudden he's worth a second, and basically it just becomes worthy for a first? But I don't think that's really happening.
I'm seeing, the initial offer when you said it, Matt, I saw it as a 1 and 2 for worthy, and now that you're breaking down what that 1 is, maybe a house of cards. That's a super interesting offer.
It could easily be top 5. So I think I'm going to end up taking that. But
well, if you accept it by the end of the episode, let us know, because we want to kind of stay. That's an interesting. I love that for that live react though. I think all 3 of us were like expecting maybe something a little bit, or at least Todd and I were expecting maybe something a little weirder than that.
Yeah, well, Matt said, I just got a trade offer, and so I just said, all right, I'm just going to hit record. Bam, here we
are.
Okay, so we'll circle back to that one if it finalizes. But back to what Todd asked me about Chase, I gave away Jamar Chase, and I think Matt brought up an interesting point. I'll repeat the trade. We talked about this on our most recent episode, but I gave Jamar Chase and Christian Watson, and got Nico Collins and Zay Flowers. We ran the poll on Twitter, bunch of votes. It was about 75-25 in favor of Nico and Flowers. So that's pretty overwhelming, obviously. But Matt, I think what you brought up is like a pretty interesting point here. And you kind of want to like kind of fill us in with what you were talking about off air.
Yeah, I mean, this might seem short-sighted to a lot of Dynasty managers who are obviously the nature of Dynasty is you're thinking long-term, we're not making moves to win this week necessarily, but especially early in the season, each new week tends to bring with it a lot of value shifts. We've already seen that the first 2 weeks. I like to kind of look ahead for the next week on the schedule before trading a big name player to see if either they have a really tough matchup or a really easy matchup. So like for Jamar Chase gets the Washington Commanders. They are the worst pass defense in the league. They were last year. I think a lot of people remember DJ Moore going for over 200 receiving yards on a Thursday night against them last year. Emmanuel Forbes, their first round bust cornerback, is like fucking terrible. So like Washington is a team that like if I have a receiver facing them the upcoming week, I'm going to be cautious about trading them. That said, I still love the trade that you made because to me the value is so good there that I'm not going to wait a week to pass that up. Maybe the other manager changes their mind. To me, Zay Flowers, I think Zay Flowers is worth like a late first more than Christian Watson. Like I think the gap is significant between the two of those guys.
Watson worth a second, and Flowers worth a late first and a second.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And maybe it's not that significant. Maybe it's like an early 2 and late 2, whatever. It's more than an early second, I would say.
So Matt, you're talking like inflection points in terms of like opponent. Are you also kind of thinking about, and Todd, feel free to also chime in here. Like, are you thinking about not only just the matchup opponent, but like time that they're playing? Like, so if they're playing on Sunday night or Thursday night, like prime time slots, like obviously that doesn't change performances one way or the other, but like perception, we've seen after a couple of weeks, like primetime matchups and games bring bigger audiences and more attention, obviously.
Yeah, I actually don't think about that as much as I should, but I do think it's a good point. Yeah. If so a perfect example of combining the two of that is one thing the Chiefs do really well is kind of like the old Bill Belichick philosophy of take away what the opponent does best. We saw that against Jamar Chase, even with the Bengals offense and Joe Burrow looking pretty good against Kansas City. This past week, Jamar Chase still didn't do anything. He was bracket coverage the whole time. So this week, I know Todd had a tweet about this. Drake London faces the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in primetime. Drake London had a touchdown that kind of saved his week for fantasy this past week, but like he's definitely been a little frustrating the first 2 weeks of the season. So if he gets shut down on Sunday Night Football, like let's say 4 targets, 2 catches, 25 yards, then I like people are
he's
already
going to go sliding down.
Yeah, like we've seen Zoltan tweet about this. We've seen people kind of talk about like, hey, at some point here, real soon, Drake London's production needs to start matching his value because it hasn't happened yet. It's early, etc. I think we're going to start seeing his value plummet if he has a bad game this week.
So London, really quick, I think he kind of looked. I think he looked better than the numbers were in that game. He had a crosser where Cousins threw it into the dirt basically, and he caught it, and he could have maybe picked up.
Yeah.
He also had the end zone play that kind of went viral on Twitter where he just turned around, he was wide open, and Cousins looked him off. That could have been a nice first half touchdown to get people excited. I think he had probably a better. I think Cousins also maybe starting to feel like the vibes are up for him now, and they got the win under their belt. He looked good in the second half. I think maybe in their next game it could be better, but it's the Chiefs. McDuffie, London could be in trouble. That 2 for 25 game is possible. Back to Chase though. You mentioned the Commanders. They're terrible against the pass. What everybody's expecting is for Chase to go off. If he doesn't go off, the slide could happen then. I don't think people are really selling that low right now, but the slide could happen. If he doesn't do something on Monday Night Football against the terrible pass defense of the Commanders, then people are going to be a little bit uncomfortable.
So I think we've talked a little bit about this. I know I've mentioned, I think last episode, like it's not so much a value drop as unobtainable becoming obtainable. I think Chase currently is obtainable. Like I just traded him away. I wouldn't have been thinking about this trade 2 weeks ago involving this. So I think that's similar to other guys like that like whoever that unobtainable person was on X team, they're thinking about trading them now. It's not dropped in value necessarily of what the market would have dictated, but it becomes, the lock emoji versus the unlock emoji on their nicknames in Sleeper.
Brian, we heard from you on a trade. Matt, what's a trade that you've made this week?
I did get rid of another Pitts share 3 days ago.
All right, well, you're finding that trade. I'm at 0% Kyle Pitts. I traded away my final Kyle Pitts this offseason. I traded a bunch away last year when I just kind of made my declaration that I'm out on Kyle Pitts. First off, I don't think he looks good at football. I think that's a problem. I remain out on Kyle Pitts. I think he's probably I think he should be valued like down like around like tight end 8. Now, I think like the Ingram tier is probably where he should be. He'll be above that just because of the constant hype. But God, he doesn't look good. All right, hopefully I'm filibuster long enough for you to
what do you so what are you selling him for, Todd? I'm actually in the beginning.
I don't have any Kyle Pitts, so I can't. I'm done with them. But like any of the wide receivers in that tier of like guys, like so, I'm gonna get my my rankings here. I'm just gonna find the wide receivers. But I mean, like honestly, like Zay Flowers, we just mentioned him. I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with
1 plus 1 plus 2.
Yeah, I mean, if I could trade Pitts for Hawkinson, that'd be great. If I could do maybe someone's down on Tank Dell, trade him for Tank Dell.
What on top of Isaiah? What on top of Isaiah likely?
I would probably take like a. Kind of depends on probably a second. If somebody wants to throw me a second, I think I could probably do better than Isaiah Likely is the only thing. One thing I don't know how the Chiefs are against tight ends, but I know they're really good against receivers. I think that's probably something if you're listening to this, go and check how good the Chiefs are against tight ends. Maybe that'll tell us if a potential good game is coming or not.
So
it's Kyle Pitts, so probably not.
So I think someone in our group chat, I forgot who it was talking about some of the trades that you were just talking about with Pitts about, what can you move on top of Pitts to get Kincaid, to get like Laporta, or can you flip him straight up for Hawkinson? I get the impression that all of us are kind of working with yesterday's price on Kyle Pitts. I think we're going to have to start lowering our target significantly.
That's probably a good point.
So
if you offered Pitts straight up for Njoku, I'm not sure that gets accepted in most leagues.
So and Njoku's probably out the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, Njoku's out for like a month.
I'm live chatting with Jacobian right now, actually, and he asked me what the price was. He said what on top of likely for Pitts. I told him I'd want 1+2 for Pitts, and I would view likely at about a 2. So I would want a 1 on top. He said that's like around what he was gauging it at. So like, I don't necessarily think you should or anyone else should use one person in particular as like the market, but that's a live right now discussion. Like, I don't think you have to panic sell in most situations yet, but it's getting there. It's moving towards that direction. I'm definitely going to be more active about moving him.
Yeah, I would say
I like the idea of shifting to likely.
Yeah.
I think they're similar. They're probably similar bets overall. And if you can get a plus, I think that's fair.
I mean, likely's shown more this year than Pitts has. That's for sure.
It would stun me if he adds a first to Isaiah Likely for Pitts, even like the latest first. That would, and I know his team in that league. He doesn't have a 25 first, but he has a 26 and 27 first, and I would not consider them like juggernaut first. So,
yeah, I don't know. Like, we have a lot of different discussions that don't go anywhere, so I'll keep everyone appraised as it goes. But
yeah,
that's the beginning discussion. So I think
he
said it was like,
trades I made in like episode. So while one of y'all find a trade that you made in like, I'll recite a trade that I offered and got rejected, just to give an idea on where some trade values are. I offered Aaron Jones for a early-ish second to a team that needed a start this week, got rejected. I've offered, we were talking about Jamar Chase. I offered Anthony Richardson to a team that doesn't have a QB2. They have Bryce Young as their QB2. They're a contender. Bryce Young is no more the quarterback. I offered Anthony Richardson for Chase straight up, got rejected. So there's some market insights on what's not getting done. So maybe y'all can tell us a trade that is getting done.
One trade that I rejected was I was offered Andy Dalton for my Bryce Young, which I just thought was funny and wanted to share that.
I think he just was. Yeah, I think that person was just sending that in jest.
Yeah, probably. But it was funny. I laughed. So thank you for that. That was the Variance Bowl, actually, Dave Plout League. Yeah, I've made 7 trades since week 2 ended already. They're all pretty notable. I'll just run down the list here, and then you guys can kind of tell me which one is like, whoa, or let's talk a little bit more about that one. So the first trade, I gave away Devontae Adams, and I got an early 2 and a mid to late 2. This is one thing of noting. This is my oldest league ever. It's a 10-team, 2-quarterback league. So that early 2 could very well be the 11th, 12th pick.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, I saw it as more or less getting a late 1 and maybe a mid 2 potentially.
One pushback that I'll give on that, because I agree with you. And I think a lot of people would say that with a 10 team, is that in a 10 team, you need more star-studded players.
Yeah.
And so like the 11th or 12th pick isn't worth as much in a 10 team as it is in a 12 team. But I think I know this league. I think you've sent me a screenshot of it before. There's pretty deep rosters, if I remember correctly. Like lots
very
of
deep.
Yeah. So just for the listener, it's probably acting kind of more similar to like an 11 or 12 man league based on the number of starters. Fair?
Yeah. And the starters it's like, I think it's start 11 and there's like 35, 36 man rosters. They're very large rosters.
Okay. So we'll call it a 11 man league.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So that's the first one. I was pretty happy with that. I'm trying to kind of like repivot into like a quick, not rebuild, but just like kind of overhaul, get younger, more talented, whatever it is. Second trade, I gave Jalen Waddle and Kirk Cousins and got Nico Collins. So that was right after we recorded.
Banger.
I saw that one. Yeah, that was fun.
Did they need a quarterback? Like, what was the
they needed
situation?
they had Tua. So they needed a quarterback pretty bad.
Okay. So, I mean, I think that a lot of times that's the best way to get a trade done is to go into your league and say, okay, who's the Jordan Love owner? Who's the Tua owner? Do they need a quarterback? Who's the Bryce Young manager? Like, do they need a quarterback? Can I help them? If you look at the roster and they're like, oh, well, Tua went down, but they have Matt Stafford, they're probably not going to want to trade for Kirk Cousins. But in this situation, yeah, like I think that's the best way to get trades done is filling a need for someone else in conjunction with a fair trade.
Yeah.
You just accept the trade, Matt?
I did. Yeah, I accepted that Xavier Worthy one. I just think that pick has a lot of top 5 potential, and
All right, hey Ryan, while we'll take a break from your next trade, but a trade just went down in one of my leagues. And it's kind of interesting because it has Brock Bowers on one side and Sam Laporta on the other. It's a very large trade, so I'm going to cut out couple like non-piece. All right, I'm going to cut out like Josh Reynolds, Kareem Hunt, and Antonio Gibson's are part of it. I'm going to remove them. All right, here we go. Stay with me here. Brock Bowers, Derrick Henry, and the Fields Russell Wilson combo, also known as Rustin Fields. So Bowers, Derrick Henry, and Rustin Fields for Laporta, Trevor Lawrence, Najee Harris. So that was Bowers, Henry, Rustin Fields for Laporta, Lawrence, Najee Harris. We can probably come pretty close to just eliminating Derrick Henry and Najee from this.
That's what I was doing mentally. Yeah.
So let's just do that. And now let's look at it as.
And honestly, I'm getting rid of Russ in my mind too. I think Russ is basically out of the league. That's how I treat Russell Wilson.
But you're treating the like it's like a backfield. Like you're getting. Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey or whatever it is.
So if you're a contender with Fields, having Russell Wilson is a nice.
Yeah, it's better than not having him. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your gap? Let's just start here. What is your gap from Bowers to Laporta at this point? And I think we're all on the same page that it's Bowers greater than Laporta. I would at least hope so. Yesterday's price is not today's price, fellas.
Yeah. That's what it is. I don't know what that gap is. Like it's certainly not been long enough to like see what that market gap is. In my opinion, I would guess it's like a 2 probably.
Okay, I'll give mine. Well, Matt looks like Matt, you go ahead. I don't want to bias because I just redid all my Dynasty auction values, which I kind of use as a trade calculator for myself. So I've got what my value is. Matt, hit us with yours, then I'll do mine.
I would say an early 2.
Okay, so my gap is in a $200 budget is $8, which is about 2 2s, in my opinion.
So Matt was early 2, I was mid 2, you were 2 2s.
Yeah, and 2 mid 2s is barely worth more than I would say an early 2. So me and Matt are, I would say, fairly close.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like yours is probably more indicative. I think there's probably a lot of people still like hanging on to like what Laporta did last year, his talent. It's still a good offense.
That's the problem.
Similar to like the overreaction.
It's such a good offense.
Yeah.
You've got ARSB, you've got JMO now, which is getting a lot of first read targets. You've got Gibbs still, which gets some targets. I mean, they're pretty committed to running the football. Laporta, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's very good, but like he is not like Bowers is in a different. I mean, it's a totally different tier for me now.
Yeah, that's what I was struggling with when I came to the conclusion. Like it's an early 2. I don't know that I would sell Bowers for Laporta in an early 2.
I wouldn't. No, I don't even know if I would want to sell him for two mid 2s. And I said that kind of being like, that's kind of aggressive. This might get some flack. I don't think if I had Bowers, I don't know that like just mid 2s, like 206 and 207.
So like our buddy Spence tried to buy Bowers from me the other night, and this is a league that I am rebuilding in, and he offered Jalen Waddle and T Higgins basically, which is a good offer. And he was like not badgering me, but like he was clearly annoyed that I didn't accept it. And he's like, "Man, I thought that was an overpay." I'm like, "It's not. That might be like fair, and you're
Say
gonna
the
have
trade
to
one more time.
Jalen Waddle
Higgins.
and T Higgins for Bowers. Waddle and
Yeah,
T
I
Higgins
mean-
for Bowers. And like to me, it's like Waddle and T Higgins are nice assets, but neither one of them are difference makers.
It's
And
What
Brock
did
Bowers,
you counter with?
I just added a 2 from his sides.
I think Brock Bowers, like just one little wrap up here with him. I think he's getting to the stage, if he's not already, like similar to what we talk about Justin Jefferson or Josh Allen. Like you got to really shove me off of this and like
Yeah,
King's
yeah,
ransom.
like a unique asset that is simply not replaceable. Like Jalen Waddle's nice, but if I have Jalen Waddle, I can go get another Jalen Waddle. Even Garrett Wilson, I can go get another Garrett Wilson. You can't get another Jefferson or Josh Allen or Bowers.
There's certainly a world where T Higgins and Jalen Waddle both like kind of fizzle out for sure. Like in some, longer term.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like in the DJ Moore realm of like,
yeah,
like they're nice to have. Like it's good to have DJ Moore or Michael Pittman, or what T Higgins is now. But like Matt just said, you can't get another Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
The only other maybe Brock Bowers is like maybe Trey McBride.
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about Laporta. Like that's like it.
I wouldn't classify that. I think he's on his own. Probably.
No, I wouldn't either. I'm just saying like that's about the closest we're gonna come.
Yeah. So you mentioned DJ Moore. Selfishly, let's get back to a couple of my trades because I made so many strictly for the content and nothing else. I gave a 1 and a 2. What are my picks? Hoping to be later because I made this move that I'm going to share here. DJ Moore and Aaron Jones. So I gave up a 1 and a 2. Hopefully late. I think I'm a top 3 team probably now. For DJ Moore, Aaron Jones, that really solidifies my lineup. I thought it was going to be a year away, but I've kind of had some fortuitous bounces like J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason. Neighbors. So like I've got Jaden Reed, a lot of young production, plus a couple of guys that kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden I'm shoving. I have Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So that's one. Another one that I think I'm curious, especially what Matt thinks. This is my first of 2 love trades this week. Gave Jalen Hurts, got Jordan Love and a 25-2. Expecting that to be later.
Okay, mid to late too.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it.
Say the trade again.
Gave Jalen Hurts, got Jordan Love, and a mid to late 25-2.
Yeah, that one's not for me.
Yep.
I think the gap for me is about a late first from Hurts to Love. I have Hurts to me as QB2. I prefer him over Mahomes.
So
the pocket passers, I'm just kind of a little bit uneasy with. I love Jordan Love. I've traded for him twice in the last week or so.
Todd, plug your ears for the next couple. So the next one I made, another Jordan Love trade. I gave Caleb Williams and a 25-3 and got Jordan Love and a 25-2. Let me see where I had those picks.
Yeah,
that one I'm good with. Like those Caleb Williams and Jordan Love are same tier for me. That's like a free 2-3 swap.
Okay, good. That makes me feel a little bit better. And then my last one. So again, this is going to sound like I'm super pro Jordan Love and anti Caleb Williams, but it's more just, I think, value and diversifying to a certain degree.
Well, I'm assuming you're tanking on a few of these teams.
Yeah.
And you're getting Jordan Love, who's got like kind of depressed value.
Yeah.
He's hurt.
Who,
by the way, might play this week.
So I think it's one of those guys that was kind of vaguely unobtainable for a little while, becoming obtainable to a certain degree. Certainly what I was willing to pay. I think it's changed a little bit, obviously from my end, but also what people are willing to sell him for on the positive for the buyer. Last one. So Caleb Williams and a mid to late 25-1. So that would be my one. And I'm getting CJ Stroud and hopefully it looks like to me like a pretty sketchy 25-2. So I'm hoping that it's like 203,
Yeah, see, this
204.
is the one I don't.
This is the one
I
you
definitely
hate.
don't like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Stroud. I'm gonna make Matt's gonna get aroused when I say this. Like Stroud and Jordan Love, like the difference between those two, like I don't know what it is. I think Stroud's cooler probably than Jordan Love because he's a second year player and he plays on prime time and does cool stuff and he gets highlights that go viral. Other than that, like I don't really know the difference. Jordan Love outproduced him last year. Matt, I'll just let you take over.
Wait.
Like, what's like you can probably speak to it better than me.
So I do think they should be pretty similar value, but so far they're not. They're people clearly prefer CJ Stroud.
Oh yeah, I don't really understand it though.
Stroud go ahead, Brian.
CJ Stroud versus Caleb Williams. That's what the trade I made. So like there's
no. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying like having all right. Let me start over here. I would rather have tried to go to the Jordan Love manager if I'm a contender with Caleb Williams because like Caleb Williams probably not going to help you this year. I think we probably agree on that.
Yeah.
Can I trade Caleb Williams for a guy that might help me this year like Jordan Love? I just think giving up the first is rich for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it was again, I don't know if this is I think first of all, I think this is a deal if you do like on either side you can get done. Speaking to
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
I think this is a very actionable trade on either end. I think it was pretty fair market wise. For me,
if I'm the Stroud person, I'm probably not selling for anything less.
Yeah. To me, the stability and the upside with Stroud in a 5 touchdown, 1 interception league. I think he's an absolute stud, and I think he's going to be a stud for a long time. And I don't think he's going to have major value fluctuation one way or the other. And I think I like that part of the safety while still having upside. That's where my thought is. Where Caleb, I believe in him fully still. But what if he's Trey Lance? What if he's somebody like that? Like value plummets. I'm not saying he is Trey Lance. I'm saying a plummet in value that is almost impossible to recover from, even if it's just perception related. Like Baker Mayfield, people love Baker Mayfield. It took Baker Mayfield 2 or 3 years of like really solid football to be like, okay, people are like, okay, well, I do kind of like him again after they're hating his guts.
Yeah, that's why I don't mind the trade for you is because like you said, I mean, you covered it. There are no questions about CJ Stroud anymore, I don't think. The one question I would have, not really question, but I think it's a small concern. Bobby Slowick, his offensive coordinator, comes from the Kyle Shanahan tree. There's been a lot made over the last week or two about how all these McVay and Shanahan guys are dominating the 2 high safety look, and the guys that aren't from that tree kind of suck against it, and their offenses are struggling. If Bobby Slowick leaves, then they have to replace him with another play caller who might not be as good, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's much of a concern. But, you know, when you compare him to a guy like Jordan Love, who is going to have Matt LaFleur his entire career, in my opinion, that is kind of worth noting, I guess. But Stroud has Nico Collins and Jordan Love doesn't. So those probably
it's interesting to me. Like you're both Matt and Todd, you're both very high on Tank Dell, right? Like
I like him, yeah.
So like to me, like if I know how all three of us feel about Nico Collins, Tank Dell for you guys, I like Diggs more personally in terms of at least short term successes. Obviously, I'm not saying like long term, but I mean, I think we know Mixon's a pretty solid, like that offense is going to be good.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think Diggs is a part of the offense after this year. I think that's kind of why they whatever they did to hook him up when they traded for him. They basically got rid of the last 3 years of his contract because that's what he wanted. So he'd become a free agent after this year.
Do you think that was kind of the plan with like Keenan Allen too for the Bears? Just like 1 year of like bridge.
Yeah, I think they looked at it very similar. And the Texans tried
flood the team with weapons.
The Texans tried to trade for Keenan Allen too. So yeah, no, I do.
So I think, Brian, one thing you were kind of getting at was you like Tank Dell. Nico's obviously awesome. This offense is awesome. Why do I not like CJ Stroud as much as I do? Well, CJ, and the reason being is like he's been really good these first 2 weeks. Quarterback as a whole has been really down. Passing has been really poor. Quarterbacks have been horrible. CJ Stroud was really good. He's QB 10. Like that just doesn't sit well with me that he was really good and he still can't get above QB 10 through 2 weeks. It's obviously 2 weeks, small sample here, but I just want more from a guy that's supposed to be like the first sure QB 3 or 4. And that's kind of that's where I'm at, even though I love the pieces in that offense. I think CJ Stroud is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. For fantasy, I just don't think it matches up.
I do think some of that works itself out over these next few weeks. Like,
I don't expect him to be QB 10, but I also don't expect him to be QB 3 or 4.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I don't know how much longer we got. So one thing I'm going to ask you guys real quick. This is what I'm like. So I have 3 JJ McCarthy shares in my 22 leagues. Two of them I'm tanking, so totally fine holding this guy. One of the leagues I'm actually competing in. Brian, you're in this league. It's a fun league to be in. Do you guys think that JJ McCarthy is about equal to Saquon Barkley right now, or should I have to add a plus to get to obtain Saquon with my JJ McCarthy share?
So it's challenging because like running back pricing, if you're trying to buy, obviously you don't want to buy at ceiling or peak, right? I could see where the Saquon owner after week 1 would be like, I'm not selling him for less than 2 ones, right? But I think JJ McCarthy could easily yield that and more. So like there's more risk attached to it probably, but like I think it's fair 1-to-1 for sure.
That's what I thought. So our buddy wants JJ McCarthy and Joe Mixon for Saquon. He said Joe Mixon.
Have the gap.
He said Joe Mixon or Kamara, and I kind of thought that was funny because to me those are entirely different assets.
He's saying he doesn't want to. He's basically just saying he doesn't want to lose the production short term. That's what
So I mean,
I have the gap between JJ McCarthy and Barkley at about a second. So if you could move Mixon and then get back maybe a second, that might be about right.
This guy doesn't have picks for like the next 3 years.
Okay,
but I can take a look at his
with that equivalency, right? Like it doesn't
necessarily something like that. Like maybe there's a player worth a second. Here's a trade that I have that's out right now, so you can tell me what you guys think about this. I'm tanking. I've seen. I really like Drake May and what he's doing, so I'm kind of wanting to get a little bit more invested in Jalen Polk. So I offered Charbonnet for Polk. Which side do you guys like there?
You're getting Polk?
I'm getting Polk, offering Charbonnet.
I like that. I'd rather have Polk.
All right. Do you think it's fair, though?
Yeah,
this person has Ken Walker, if that
okay.
I definitely think it's fair just for the short-term boost right now that he's going to get for as long as Ken Walker's out. It looks like he's going to at least miss another week from what I saw.
Yeah, maybe IR.
He is getting he is getting the majority of the work, like 80% snaps. By the way, Todd, I believe it's pronounced Charbonnet.
Yeah, it is.
But small.
I just always in college I would call him Charbo. With like that's just like a fun little.
When he was coming out, I heard a lot of people call him that.
I think one that people are still really trying to grasp right now is Jordan Mason. So let's kind of just say, what is Jordan Mason worth at this point? there's not as many trades that like a lot of the trades have already happened. But if someone still has Jordan Mason, still have some Jordan Mason shares on some tank teams. What are we selling Jordan Mason on a tank team? Also, what are we buying on a contender?
Are you baiting me into some type of sell, like immediate trade again, or like I've been hurt before, man.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I think that he's probably. I think what people want to sell for is a first, and that's just not going to happen unless you find some schmuck that's ready to like buy a beach house on a
redraft guys.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking like 2-2s is probably like the sweet spot at this point.
I agree. I think you could probably, obviously, if the person is the Christian McCaffrey owner and doesn't have the obvious, like an obvious other guy that can fill in that slot during his timeout, I think you can squeeze a little bit probably and have some success. But if it's like just the person who's looking to get Jordan Mason because he's like a hot item right now, I think the value is probably less than what you're saying.
Okay, so like a second and like a third.
Yeah, I was thinking like a second and like a flyer young receiver, something like that.
Roman Wilson or something.
Yeah, something like along those lines. But if they have Christian McCaffrey, I would hold very hard line of 2-2s.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I have I think that's so I was gonna say like a mid 2 and 3 is like to me what he's worth. There I do have a league with Zoltan where I have CMC. Zoltan is tanking and he can't get anyone to trade for Mason. I think I could probably acquire Mason for like an early to mid, probably early second right now. I'm just not doing it because I have Derrick Henry and Stephon Diggs. So I think Mason's going to go back to being pretty worthless. Not worthless, but just a strict handcuff, like in 6 weeks. But I don't know. I mean, I don't mind paying for the safety of getting his handcuffs right now.
And I don't know how many people feel like I did. Like he was one of my most rostered players before this happened, simply because I thought he was like pretty talented. And obviously we know what the 49ers offensive scheme is like. As soon as he got drafted there, like it's been 3 years that I've waited for this moment, but I've been patiently waiting, I guess. And I mean, I have traded a couple of him in the last couple of weeks. And maybe we'll share some of those maybe next episode or something. But
right. Any other trades that you guys want to mention?
No, I think that's about it for me.
All right. Only other thing I'll comment on just trades I've offered. I offered also a Kyler Murray for a Jamar Chase. No feedback on that one. Last question, then we'll get out of here. What's the gap? Drake London's a hot topic right now. Like that value just kind of is over that. People are uncomfortable with him. What's the gap from, let's say, Drake London to the AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson tier?
So I made an offer 3 days ago. So after Monday Night Football, I made an offer Drake London and a 2 for Nico Collins. So like Nico Collins is vaguely in that range for I think Utah. Yeah. So I made that offer. So Drake London and 2, my Drake London and a 2 for Nico. And the person pretty much just ignored the offer and put in the sleeper chat that he thought I was like joking when I made the offer. So like that was like he kind of just like shit down my throat in front of everybody. So that was a sad today. That was my morning. So that's just one person's feedback. Other people in the league had messaged me and said like, hey, I thought that was a pretty fair offer. You might have preferences, but so to me, like market wise, I would start with a 2 on top of Drake London.
All right. So I have one offer out right now, Drake London and 2 2s for AJ Brown.
Yeah, I think that's about right, especially with AJ Brown being hurt right now. I think most managers aren't this short-sighted, but some of them are. Or I shouldn't even say short-sighted. Maybe they actually do need the production the next few weeks, where they are slightly discounting AJ Brown and they're willing to kind of move him. But yeah, like 2-2 sounds about right to me. I don't really know what to do with Drake London. I invested a lot in him this offseason, and I haven't really been looking to get off my shares because I think he's still really good. So I kind of just want to hold and wait for the value to kind of appreciate to where I think it actually should be. But
Matt, can I tell you a cautionary tale?
yeah.
Quick one. I last offseason felt like I was underweight on Christian Watson. Made a lot of 1+2s for Christian Watson, thinking he was going to make the leap and be the guy and whatever, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And those Christian Watsons are still mostly on my teams that I acquired for a 1 and a 2. So take for that what you will.
So those are tank teams, I'm assuming now.
Those are not great teams. They're not great teams.
Yeah, because I mean, like I was thinking about this earlier, and I know we're gonna wrap up here soon, but like I wonder how much longer until it's consensus that Zay Flowers goes ahead of Drake London. Because he's getting more targets. He's more productive.
You mean Drake London goes ahead of Zay Flowers? Until Zay Flowers is ahead of Drake London.
Yeah, like right now, Drake London's still ahead of Zay Flowers market-wise, and
right.
I think that's going to change here shortly.
Drake London or Brian Thomas Jr.?
I mean, I would take London straight up, but maybe that's some trade because I've been trying to acquire some Brian Thomas and it's almost impossible. So maybe I'll try I wonder if you can do Drake London and a 3 for Brian Thomas and a 2, get like a 2-3 swap in your favor. I think I don't know. That might be worth exploring actually.
I actually like that. It's a good idea. I might try that. Drake London and a 3 for Brian Thomas and a 2. Roma Dunze. Drake London.
He's
Roma Dunze seems to be hitting that JSN slide of
for all the
2023.
All the negative, I guess, with Drake London. Like we've seen plenty of flashes of good or great in the NFL too. Like right, so like I think it's important to like kind of contextualize that part of it, like our expectations versus, getting too haphazardly. Like, well, I have to sell him for something like we've liked what we've seen at Brian Thomas Jr. for the most part in 2 games, but he's played 2 games and we don't know what he is yet.
And he only had 2 targets in week 2. So, I mean, it's not like he was out there balling or anything.
Yeah,
I think he had 4 targets, but he only had.
Well, he got 1 late catch that like really saved his overall stat line, like late in the game.
He only had 4 targets each week, and he only had 2 catches for 94.
2 catches. Sorry, 2 catches.
He also has like I think Brian Thomas Jr. is good, but like just again contextualizing like the standards are or were different based on a rookie receiver like Matt talked about last episode and now veteran, which is crazy to think about with Drake London. But Brian Thomas Jr. also has had, I believe, the two highest top speeds for a rookie wide receiver through 2 weeks, which is kind of interesting considering some of the other people that are in this class. Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
The only other one that I failed miserably with trades, I mentioned on the pod last episode, was just the 2 3s for Rashid Shaheed. That was a miserable failure. I got 0 out of that. Except for like a bunch of people DMing me like, "Hey, fuck you." So,
well, I don't think my cousin Brian probably said anything to you about that, but he did text me about that, and it is funny that like. Some of the more casual dynasty players, they're not looking at their leagues like a portfolio. They're thinking of it as an individual league. And like, so he kind of, I don't want to say he took that offer personally, but like he texted me and he's like, why does Brian O'Leary think I want 2 late thirds 2 and 3 years from now? I was like, I promise he's not thinking about you whatsoever in that offer. It's just you have Shaheed and he's sending 30 Shaheed offers out and he's throwing 2/3 out. But like,
the other day I got an offer from Brian. I think I quickly I quickly rejected it, and he messaged in Twitter and was like, "Sorry, Todd, just sending out offers across every league I have."
Yeah, no. So it is funny though when people are like, "Man, this guy thinks
I
I'm
think
a
it was when
fucking
Jordan
idiot."
Mason
Like,
had just gotten the job.
Yeah. I, and just for the record, for anyone that is listening and is in a league with me, I don't do that often, but when I do it, yeah, sometimes those types of things happen where I'll offend someone or piss somebody off, or like Todd's saying, I'll just mess and be like, yep, I realized after the fact that was you. Sorry about that.
I forgot who said it to me, and I forgot what my offer was, because usually I do think I send pretty good offers, but last summer I sent someone an offer, can't remember who or what it was. Like a minute later, he just texts me back, "You're gonna have to withdraw that one, boss." like he's not even gonna
sit.
like he's not even gonna decline it. You're gonna have to
that
take
filth will settle.
Yeah,
it is funny to I just don't. It's hard for me to think about like someone having one or two teams, because it's been so long that's been the case for me, which I get it. Which it's like a guy that's had a pretty fun 2 weeks, and I'm just like, hey, do you want 2 rookie picks that could suck? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks for joining the Dynasty Market Watch, where we talk about some trades that we made in life. You can find Brian on Twitter at Brian_Larry1. You can find Matt at Dynasty Peasant, and you can find me, Todd, at Dynasty SFlex. Thanks for joining.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Why?